Ata Param, thereafter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. Purport. The personality Godhead Sri Ram assumed the form of a human being and appeared on earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods or the administrative personalities to maintain the order of the universe. Sometimes great demons and atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and many others become very famous due to advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities, the spirit of challenging the established order of the Lord. For example, the attempt to fly to other planets by material means is a challenge to the established order. The conditions of each and every planet are different, and different classes of human beings are accommodated there for particular purposes mentioned in the codes of the Lord. But puffed up by tiny success in material advancement, sometimes the godless materialists challenge the existence of God. Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to the planet of Indra, heaven, by material means without consideration of necessary qualifications. He wanted a staircase built up directly reaching the heavenly planet so that people might not be required to undergo the routine of pious works necessary to enter that planet. He also wanted to perform other acts against the established rule of the Lord. He even challenged the authority of Sri Ram, the personality Godhead, and kidnapped his wife, Sita. Of course, Lord Ram came to chastise this atheist, answering the prayer and desire of the demigods. He therefore took up the challenge of Ravana, and the complete activity is the subject matter of the Ramayana. Because Lord Ramachandra was a personality of Godhead, he exhibited superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could perform. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. The modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness. It is not possible to bring weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air, he made the stones, even within this earth, to be weightless and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillar. That is the display of the power of God. Translation. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appears King Ram in order to perform some pleasing work for demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So, the Lord has superhuman powers. We hear about these superhuman powers and we hear about the different activities of the Lord. So we can actually understand that who is the Lord? And to understand the Lord is not an ordinary person in this material world. Describe that Krishna descends again and again. So here, as Lord Ramachandra, he's coming because of the prayers of the demigods. They're being harassed by the big demon Ravana. Well, actually, Ravana and his brother Kumbhakarna, his brother Kumbhakarna were one of the other incarnations of Jai and Vijay. Came from the Vaikuntha. They were the guard keepers of Vaikuntha, and they committed offense against the Kumaras, or they didn't allow the Kumaras to enter into Vaikuntha. And because of that, the Kumaras cursed them that they would have to come to this material world. Actually, they were given the option that either they can take 3 births as demons and come and then come immediately back, or what was the 7 births as devotees, or 7 births as devotees. But because they considered that coming back as soon as possible would be a much more advantageous situation, they took the birth as demons. So there's multiple reasons for the Lord's pastimes. Sometimes it's described that Krishna wants to enjoy the rasa of fighting. So he empowers one of his devotees in order to fight with him. Because ultimately Krishna is the supreme powerful, and no one can beat Krishna, but he does it out of play, out of joy. Just like, you might have a father playing with his child, and the child gets on top of the father, and the father is acting like he's being conquered over by the child. This is just a loving exchange. So you see Krishna killing the demons is actually a loving exchange also with his devotees. So Krishna appears again and again. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter why he ends up appearing again and again. And verses 7 and 8, very famous verses. Yadha yadha hi dharmasya dhani bhavati bharata abhyuktanam adharmasya tadha anam sujhamyaham. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a prominent rise of re-religion, at that time I descend myself. Pavrityanaya sadhunam vinasaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthanya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So Krishna comes again and again in different forms, different incarnations. Here he's coming as as Ram, to mitigate the distress of the demigods, and to also cleanse the earth of this demoniac influence. We see the demons, they cause so much trouble. So much trouble. Prabhupada is saying here in the purport, sometimes great demons and atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and many others become very famous due to advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities, with the spirit of challenging the established order of the Lord. And then Prabhupada goes on to say, for example, the attempt to fly to other planets by material means is a challenge to the established order. So we've been given our certain abilities according to the body that we have. Prabhupada many times gave the example that there's living beings present everywhere. In the water, there's fish and other life forms. Even in the lava, there's life forms. In the air, there's life forms, and there's bacteria present everywhere, different life forms. And according to the particular type of body, then to that particular type of body, there's a specific environment which that body can exist in. But we see the material scientists, they want to try to trump that, or disprove, or they want to go against the natural order of the Lord, like Prabhupada is saying here, and they want to go into space and conquer over the other planets. It's said that when the astronauts first went to the moon, so-called went to the moon, and they got up there, they looked around, they said there's no God. They said we went up there and we didn't see no God. We didn't see God anywhere. But this is due to imperfect senses. Because actually the human beings, the jiva, the living entities, we carry these 4 defects with us, which are the tendency to commit mistakes. We're committing so many mistakes all the time. For example, 2 weeks in a row now, I've recently started cooking, and I've just oversalted the kitchen. It's like, I'm trying to put the right amount of salt, and just somehow I just keep putting too much. Just keep committing the same mistake, over and over. There's a tendency to commit mistakes. The tendency to be illusioned. Prabhupada gives the illusion, the biggest illusion which we're in is thinking that we're this body. The Russian thinks I am Russian, the African says I am African, I am a man, I am a woman, I am this, I am that. So we have the tendency to become illusioned. The Ashram is thinking I am such a smart, intelligent person. I am up here, I've made it all the way to space, and I see no God. I've done this on my own strength, my own power. You see, Ravana, he was trying to build a staircase into heaven. This is the demoniac mentality. They don't want to go they don't want to go through any austerity, any penance. They don't want to try to reform themselves. They just want to try to do things by their own power. So Ravana, he just tried to build a staircase to heaven. You can't get into heaven that way. It's not possible. It's like trying to enter into a country without the proper visa. They'll send you back on your way. You have to go through the proper qualifications. You have to go to the embassy, acquire the visa, fill out the required paperwork, and then ultimately the authorities of that country have to see that, okay, this person can enter into our country and he won't cause any trouble. So similarly, to enter into the spiritual realm, we have to, or enter into the kingdom of God, we have to become pure. We have to follow the process. We can't cheat the process. We can't cheat Krishna. We may try to cheat Krishna, but actually we're just cheating ourselves. Krishna is within our heart. Bhagavad Gita 1861. Krishna says, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam starts, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridesya Arjuna Tishtati Brahmaya Sarvabhutani Hantaru Mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, or Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So Krishna is in our heart. He knows our thoughts, He knows our actions, He knows our activities, He knows our intention. Because even externally we might be performing devotional service, but if we're in our mind, we're just thinking of sense gratification. If we're just thinking about all the nonsense, we're living with the devotees, but we're thinking these devotees are, nonsense. And we're not actually trying to become a servant of the servant of the servant. And we're not actually trying to develop a humble attitude, a service attitude. Then, sooner or later, we won't be able to maintain our position. And Krishna will do that for our own benefit. Meaning that He'll take us away from the association of devotees so we don't commit more offenses, so that we can then rectify ourselves. But better to take the opportunity while we have it. So now we're in this human form of life, we're in association of devotees, and we should take advantage of it. Because if we don't complete our course now, who knows how many lifetimes we'll have to go through again, the cycle of repeated birth and death, to come to this point where we have the association of devotees. And what to speak of the association of devotees, what to speak of the opportunity to serve the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who comes in only once in every Kali Yuga. Once in the day of Brahma, actually. So it's every 4 billion 300 million. 4 billion 300 million is the numbers given there in the Bhagavad Gita. So we have this opportunity. We should take advantage. The third defect is the cheating propensity. The scientists are expert at this, presenting hypothesis. This may cure this disease, or this medicine will, cure this disease. When cigarettes first came out, they were prescribing them to everybody and saying this will cure all your illnesses. You have a cough, here, smoke a cigarette. It'll make you better. Oh, you have diabetes, here, take a cigarette. It'll cure you. And then what happens, some decades later they find out, no, this is actually causing cancer. This is very, very terrible for you. And now even though it states it right on the package, smoking will kill you, people still continue to engage in these degraded habits. They're cheating themselves, actually. It's like it's written in black and white. If you do this, this will happen, and still they go on. Senses are imperfect. This is the fourth effect. So we have the material scientists. They're observing this world through instruments which they have created, which were created with imperfect senses, so they can actually come to the correct conclusion because the senses are imperfect. It's like looking out through a telescope and trying to actually figure out what's going on out there in the universe. They would never know that on the moon there's living entities. They would never know there's a Chandra, the king of the moon, the presiding deity of the moon. They would never look at the sun and be able to see, wow, there's Narayana situated within the sun, and there's living entities on the sun. Because the senses are imperfect. That's why we take our information from the scriptures, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, from Bhagavad Gita, which tell us that information that is outside of our sense perception. And this information is untinged by these four defects. So the great sages and Krishna himself, they're transcendental. And the acharyas are transcendental. So the knowledge that they're presenting is above the four defects. So that means that they're not committing any mistakes. They're not illusioned. They're not trying to cheat us. And they don't have imperfect senses. So we should really take these instructions and these literatures and really thoroughly and repeatedly read them, study them, imbibe them. Imbibe means to drink. So we take in this knowledge and we make it a part of us. Chakta Shastrus, we start to see the world through the eyes of Shastra. When we're constantly in touch with the Shastra. It's like like if somebody wants to become a famous whatever, a famous actor, he'll sit down and, watch all the movies and look at all the different techniques of how to act, get like an acting for dummies 101 and completely absorb himself in that mentality. So similarly, if we're trying to become devotees of Krishna, we should absorb ourselves completely in these literatures, absorb ourselves completely in the process of devotional service. Take advantage of the association of the advanced devotees. Take advantage of these books that Prabhupada has given us. So the demoniac people, like Ravana, they don't know what is correct and what is not correct. And that is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, verse number 7, which says, Pavriti cha niriti cha janana vidu asura nasocham napichacharo nasatyam te suvidyate. Which says, those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. We see another thing Ravana was doing. Was that he tried to kidnap Sita. Here, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he says that he even challenged the authority of Sri Ram, the personality of Godhead, and kidnapped his wife Sita. So this is a demoniac tendency which You want to enjoy the property of God without God in the picture. So Sita was a property of Ram, and Ravana wanted to enjoy Sita without Ram in the picture. Another example that's given is that, there's people in this world are trying to enjoy with the Lakshmi, with the money that is also being provided by Krishna. And they're trying to enjoy with this money, but they're not giving any of it to Krishna. That is the glory of the Sankirtan movement, that we're trying to somehow engage this misdirected civilization in the service of Krishna. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, at least if you can't work for me, give up some of the fruits of your activity to me. So we try to engage these people, we humbly approach them and ask for donations. And this is for their best interests. Because actually when they give a donation, that is considered devotional service. That is considered devotional service. So we're trying to engage people in devotional service. And if they properly engage their money, attention goes, where attention goes, energy flows. So most of the people are focused on their money, focused on making money, focused on acquiring money. So when they give their money to the devotees, when they give their money for some literature, then their attention will go there. What is this book I've bought? What is it good for me? What good would it do for me? All these Hare Krishnas, I stopped them in the subway, gave them some money. And they're being purified. The Sankirtan movement is all auspicious. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions in one section that, of the greatest, sacrifice one can do, or the greatest thing one can give for this, the sacrifice for the Sankirtan movement is the topmost. So, when people are giving donations and when they're taking books and when we engage them in the chanting Hare Krishna, they're making some sacrifice for the Sankirtan movement. That is to their great benefit, their eternal benefit. And the demoniac, besides not knowing what's the proper thing to do, they do things that are detrimental to the planet, to themselves. So Krishna says in the 9th verse of the 16th chapter, Etam dristam avaktasya nasatmano nibhudaya prabhanta yuga karmanam shayaya jagato hita. It says, following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. And Srila Prabhupada's purport, the demoniac are engaged in activities that will lead the world to destruction. The Lord states here that they are less intelligent. The materialists who have no conception of God think that they are advancing, but according to Bhagavad Gita, they are unintelligent and devoid of all sense. They try to enjoy this material world to the utmost limit and therefore always engage in inventing something for sense gratification. Such materialistic inventions are considered to be advancement of human civilization. But the result is that people grow more and more violent and more cruel. Cruel to animals, cruel to other human beings. They have no idea how to behave towards one another. Animal killing is very prominent amongst demoniac people. Such people are considered the enemies of the world because ultimately they will invent or create something which will bring destruction to all. Indirectly, this verse anticipates the invention of nuclear weapons.
This is 15?
Chapter 16, verse 9.
16.
Invention of nuclear weapons of which the whole world is today very proud. At any moment, war may take place, and these atomic weapons may create havoc. Such things are created solely for the destruction of the world. And this is indicated here. Due to godlessness, such weapons are invented in human society. They are not meant for the peace and prosperity of the world. So Krishna is saying, following such conclusions, the demoniac who have lost themselves, who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So their so-called advancement of civilization is creating weapons that can destroy the world times and times over. How is this advancement? You know, but they're just completely illusioned. They don't know the correct aim in life. So therefore we have to give people this knowledge. And therefore Krishna is appearing again and again. Krishna is appearing in his holy name. Krishna is appearing. We heard in the Bhagavatam Mahima Stotra, Krishna has appeared as this great literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So when we give Krishna to people, then their demoniac tendencies could be thwarted. Krishna Marnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangasha Parsadam Yagna Sankirtanya Prayayanti Hi Sumedasa. In this age of Kali, there's a hidden incarnation or a hidden manifestation of Krishna. His complexion is not blackish. I say this is describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has come. Krishna Barnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangasha Parsadam. And he's brought his weapons, his astras, which are not like the normal weapons like we see Lord Ramachandra had his bow. But his weapons are Yagna Sankirtanya Praya, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And Yayanti Hi Sumedasa. Those who are intelligent will engage in this process. Because actually, the Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord will destroy the demoniac tendencies we are in our own heart. Like Rama Prabhu was mentioned the other day, in Satya Yuga, the demons lived on different planets. Treta Yuga, they lived on different countries. In Dwarapa Yuga, they lived in the same family. But in Kali Yuga, the demon and the devotee is in the same body. So therefore, we must, avail ourselves or to this, make ourselves, or connect ourselves to the cure, which is the Sankirtan of Krishna's holy names. Those who are intelligent, who have sufficient brain substance, will take to this process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Any questions? Hare Krishna. I guess the broadcast didn't happen, huh? It's kind of just...
Does it happen? It's on another page or something?
Oh, it's on another page.
You're still going to speak on the different...
Yeah. So I'm just going to take any questions and I'll just finish it up. Just talking with you about the appearance days of telling a few pastimes.
Lord Rama's servitor, Hanuman, that saved Sita, right? Is that right?
His servitor?
Yeah.
Hanuman. Yeah, Hanuman was the monkey.
The one who saves Sita.
He saves Sita.
Yeah.
No? Ram himself saved him, but Hanuman, what Hanuman did, he helped build the bridge to Lanka, which is common today, Ceylon. Today you can still go there, and actually, if it's described that from high up in a helicopter, you can still see the remnants of the bridge that was made by Ram. It was interesting. Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport how we see the powers of God. He can make these huge rocks weightless. And Prabhupada was giving class, and this verse was saying, usually when you throw a stone on the water, it will just go down, it will sink. But we see the power of God. He creates the laws, so he's making all these planets float in the sky. So this is nothing for him to make these stones float in the water. And he made this bridge. Ultimately, Ram saved Sita. That's why it's primarily why he goes to the kingdom and kills Ravana. But it's described also that the Sita Ravana took wasn't actually the real Sita. It was just a Mayic form of Sita. Like she expanded, like an expansion of Sita. So the real Sita remained untouched. Okay, so I'll go on to explaining the glories of the Vaishnavas appearing today. So first, we'll hear about Vishnu Priya. So Vishnu Priya, she was the second wife of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was married initially to Lakshmi Priya, who was his first wife, but she died prematurely. And after the death of his first wife, his mother urged him to take on another wife. And then Mahaprabhu married Srimati Vishnu Priya. She was 16 at the time when they married, or maybe a little younger. He ended up leaving her when she was 16, if my memory serves me correctly. But he married for the second time on the request of his mother. And he actually left shortly after their marriage. Mahaprabhu took sannyas shortly after marrying Vishnu Priya. And so her entire life, since she lived to about 96, so it's about 80 years, her entire life, she was devoid of the association of Mahaprabhu. But what Mahaprabhu did, he left her deity. The famous deity we see of Dharmesh Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, in a stance like this, which my Guru Maharaj says is him extending his mercy, telling everyone here, take the mercy. It's available. So this is a very beautiful deity of Mahaprabhu, which is still there today in Mayapur. Navadvip. In Navadvip section, and you can still see this deity, which was worshipped by Vishnu Priya. And Vishnu Priya's worship of this deity was so intense, her separation from Mahaprabhu was so intense, and her vows were so strict. What she would do is she would worship the deity every day. She would sit in front of the deity, chant her rounds. And every round she chanted, she would put a grain of rice aside. And at the end of her chanting, when she finished her chanting, then she would boil those grains of rice, which she had put aside, and that's what she would eat for the day. So such deep separation and austerity undergone by Srimati Vishnu Priya. Then we have Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is a great acharya in our line. He appeared in, this is according to the Gaudiya history on ISKCON Desire Tree. It says he appeared in 1638. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Hari Bhalabha Das, came in the simple succession from Sri Narottam Das Thakur. Vishwanath took Diksha from Sri Radha Raman Chakravarti. Although married, Vishwanath was indifferent and soon renounced family life. He came to Vrindavan Dham and did Krishna Bhajan at Radha Kund. You see his Bhajan Kutir is there in Radha Kund. There is actually the Bhajan Kutir also of Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, where he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you'll also find the Bhajan Kutir of Raghunath Das Goswami there at the Radha Kund. He was known as the crest jewel of the Vaishnavas because of his pure devotion, scholarship, and realized perception of Radha Gokulananda's intimate conjugal pastimes. Gaudiya authorities say that Sri Rupa Goswami is an incarnation of the goddess speech. And Gaudiya acharyas, especially among his direct disciples, believe that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is an incarnation of Sri Rupa Goswami. Among all Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, only Vishwanath Chakravarti comes close to matching Sri Rupa Goswami's profound realizations on the absolute truth. Vishwanath Chakravarti's name itself implies his position. Vishwanath means he who reveals the jewel of devotion to Vishwanath, Shri Krishna, the Lord of the universe. Chakravarti means he who expands the chakra, circle of bhakti. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was the protector, guardian, and acharya during the middle period, 1600 to 1700, of the historical development of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The growth of Gaudiya Vaishnavism began with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was later rejuvenated by Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod, spread by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and broadcast all over the world by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder acharya of ISKCON. During his stay in Vrindavan, Vishwanath worshipped deities of Radha Gokulananda and Shri Giriraj. His Govardhan Shila was first worshipped by Lord Chaitanya, then Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj, Sri Mukunda Das, Srimati, Krishna Priya Thakurani, and Vishwanath Chakravarti. Today, this Giriraj Govardhan deity resides at the Radha Gokulananda temple in Vrindavan. Some claim this Govardhan Shila is the Bhagavat Nivas in Raman Reti near the ISKCON Krishna Balama Mandir. So there's 7 temples of the Goswamis in Radha Gokulananda. You can see there's still the Shila that was worshipped by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's still there, present. You can see it to this day. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki. Then there's Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi.
Can I ask a question about Vishwanath Chakravarti?
Yes.
What was his time period that he appeared?
1638.
Rupa Goswami was in what time?
It was before that, 15. Maybe like 100 years earlier, something like that. And then you have Pundarik Vidyanidhi, which is actually said to be Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Vrishabhanu Maharaj, which is the father of Radharani. So it's described that the great personalities, they have an identity in Krishna Lila, and they have an identity in Gaur Lila, in the passage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj was Radharani's father in Krishna's pastimes. In Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he's Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And interestingly enough, what we learn from Pundarik Vidyanidhi is that you cannot judge who is really a Vaishnava purely by external appearance. Pundarik Vidyanidhi looked like a materialist. Had long, shiny hair, big opulence, many women that would be at his place. He would be smoking a hookah. It's described in Chaitanya Bhagavatam. And so Gadadhar Pandit went to see Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And actually Gadadhar Pandit is also a manifestation of incarnation of Radharani. So that's the Gadadhar Pandit took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So it's Radharani taking initiation from her father, Vrishabhanu Maharaj. But anyway, so Gadadhar Pandit went, and he was thinking, what kind of Vaishnava is this? Smoking hookah, enjoying so many women around, so much opulence. How can it be a Vaishnava? And then they started to recite slokas from the Bhagavatam. When these slokas were recited from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Pundarik Vidyanidhi went into ecstasy, complete ecstasy. He lost it. He was completely thrown into ecstatic love of Krishna. So we see this in the, we see this in the pure devotees. They're so attached to hearing about Krishna. They always want to be in Krishna's association. Mahaprabhu had Raghunath Bhatta Goswami recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to him daily. So Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Mahaprabhu's secretaries would also recite many verses. Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar, it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that they would recite many verses to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu would enjoy like that, hearing about Krishna. That's Pundarik Vidanidhi. And you have Raghunandan Thakur. Raghunandan Thakur was born into the family of physicians in this Shaka year 1432, well, that's 1510 AD. His father's name was Mukunda Das. His mother's name is unknown. Mukunda Das was Narahari Sakar Thakur's older brother. In the 15th chapter of the Madhya-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is clearly said that Mukunda Das was the physician to the king. There's a pastime with Mukunda Das, who's Raghunandan Thakur's father. He was the physician to the king. And one day he was sitting, he was treating the king. And then he happened to see a peacock feather, and he fainted into ecstasy. He just passed out from seeing the peacock feather. He just had strong remembrance of Krishna. As described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the incident over Raghunandan, his son, there was a question asked by Mahaprabhu in their pastimes. He asked Mukunda Das, who is the father? Is Raghunandan the father, or is Raghunandan the son? Or is Mukunda the father, Raghunandan the son? Like that. And actually, Mukunda, even though he was Raghunandan's father, said, Raghunandan is my father. And what we get out of this was that Raghunandan was more spiritually, according to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, was more spiritually advanced and brought his father closer to devotion and service to Krishna. So there's, in that sense, he was saying that, yeah, he's my father because he's teaching me devotion to Krishna. So we see that on the rungs of bhakti, yes, and on our stage we have the different social restrictions. Of course, we have our elders and we respect them according to that. But on the purely transcendental level, there's according to the advancement of the particular devotee, not of the so-called bodily age that they might have manifest. Like we see Sukadeva Goswami, he walked onto to the forest with the sages, and even though he was just a boy of 16, they asked him to sit and speak. There were sages there. Narada Muni was present. Vyasadeva was present. Great sages. But they asked just this young boy because they understood he was very, very spiritually elevated, spiritually advanced. So they saw him as an authority. In the pastime of Raghunandan, so it's described here. Mahaprabhu gave Raghunandan the service of deity worship. Raghunandan's work is to serve Krishna, and he has no interest in anything other than serving Krishna. From his early childhood, Raghunandan Thakur would feed the family's Gopinath deities ladus. Uddhava Das has written a song in which this lila is described. Mukunda Das lived in the village of Srikanta, where his household deity was named Gopinath. One day he had to go somewhere for work, so he called Raghunandan to do the service. He said, in this house we worship Krishna, so I want you to be sure to give him something to eat. Then he left. Raghunandan did as his father had ordered him to, and made the offering to the deity. Raghunandan was just a child in his simplicity. And in his simplicity, he said to Gopinath, eat, eat. So he put the ladu in front of the deity. He said, eat, eat. And the offering. Krishna is controlled by love. And so, he did as the child told him, and he ate everything on the plate without leaving a grain. When Mukunda Das returned, he asked the boy to bring him the prasad from the offering he had made. The child answered, "Father, he ate everything and left no remnants." Mukunda was astonished at his child's wonderful words, and he again asked him on another occasion to make an offering. This time, after he left his house, he returned and hid himself to watch his son, to watch what his son would do. Raghunandan joyfully placed the laddu in Krishna's hands and said in a commanding voice, "Eat, eat!" When Krishna had eaten half of the laddu, Raghunandan saw Mukunda Das in the hallway. Look, he saw his father. Mukunda saw that Krishna did not take another bite, and that the half-eaten laddu remained in his hand. This caused him to be filled with love. He embraced his child and, as tears of joy rained from his eyes, spoke to him in a broken voice. To this day, fortunate people come to Srikanta to see the half-eaten laddu in Gopinath's hand. Raghunandan is not different from Cupid himself, as Uddhava Das with great feeling. That's from the Bhakti Ratnakar. So the deity of Gopinath is still present, and you can see the half-eaten laddu in his hand. And then we'll hear, so Shri Raghunandan Thakur Ki Jai. And then we have Raghunath Das Goswami, which actually, there's a book, if you can grab it from me, there's a book on top of the table. It says the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Satyaraj so kindly has compiled the life of the 6 Goswamis for us. It's a small black book. Yeah, thank you. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami lived from 1495 through 1571. Is known as one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the primary disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das, the first of the 6 Goswamis to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was born in a village called Chandipur, present-day Sri Krishnapur, located 2 miles from Saptagram, district of Hooghly, West Bengal. An inheritor of vast opulence, Raghunath Das was a fortunate son of the wealthy Govardhan Mahujdar, who was considered even at that time a multi-millionaire. So Raghunath Das was born in a very, very wealthy family. Govardhan was the younger brother of Hiranya, a powerful landowner who, although of the Kayasta Sudra, a lower caste, commanded great respect from his peers. In his boyhood, he was instructed on the principles of Vaishnavism by Balaramacharya, one of the most advanced devotees of Saptagram. Having received the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intimate devotee, Haridas Thakur, Balaramacharya was anxious to introduce his young student to the saint. Thus he did, and Raghunath imbibed the devotional spirit from the Thakur. As he grew into his teens, Raghunath's piety and spiritual insight grew as well. Soon in 1510, news of Sri Chaitanya's sannyas reached Saptagram. Having heard that Nityananda Prabhu had diverted Sri Chaitanya from his pilgrimage to Vrindavan and led him instead to nearby Shantipur, Raghunath Das pleaded with his father to let him go and see the great saint, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about whom the saint Haridas Thakur had told him so much. But the boy was young, merely 15 years old, and so his rich father was hesitant, skeptical about allowing his well-bred boy association with common renunciates. Govardhan did not want his only son to renounce the world and leave his family. Nonetheless, Raghunath Das ran away from home and met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shantipur. The meeting was emotional and intense. Sri Chaitanya recognized his eternal associate, who had finally, in this life, returned to him. And Raghunath Das enthusiastically fell at the Lord's feet, touching them with great devotion as a sign of humility. This is a very interesting point. The Lord recognized his eternal servant. It's actually said that when Srila Prabhupada first met his spiritual master also, they instantly, they're eternal residents of Goloka Vrindavan. They recognized each other. And they just looked at each other and they knew who each other was. And they knew what they would have to do in this life to push on the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see that is Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, in one purport, he says, me and my spiritual master met via the transcendental system. So this is Krishna's system. He's sending his pure devotees to different parts in this universe to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. So the scene was described by Swami Tita Maharaj, a disciple of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When the Lord came to Shantipur, after his sannyas, Raghunath Das fell prostrate at his lotus feet in a rapture of love. When Mahaprabhu touched him with his toe, this exchange deeply moved the two of them. But after 10 days of intimately associating with Navadvip devotees in Shantipur, Sri Chaitanya left for the Jagannath Puri, and Raghunath Das returned home. And then it goes on to describe that Raghunath Das, he wanted to renounce his wealthy family life, but Mahaprabhu said to him, he told him actually to remain. Here you go. He said, or else Raghunath Das was eager to renounce family and riches. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged him to return home. Lord Krishna will direct you towards renunciation at the proper time, Sri Chaitanya told him. For now, live as you were a worldly man. And so, after probably approximately 6 days, Raghunath Das returned to Saptagram. So we see that sometimes that devotees, they're so-called engaged in material activities, but they're actually doing it on a higher order. Like, for example, you have it's slipping my mind. This from the Bhagavatam, when Lord Brahma told his son Priyavata. Yeah, Priyavata. So Priyavata, he wanted to remain a brahmachari. He wanted to be renounced. But for the higher purpose of being a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, where our main focus is service. So, like Mahaprabhu said the first Kibanyasi, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a brahmana, I'm not a sudra, I'm not a vaishya. I'm only a servant of the 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 goats. So Raghunath Das remained in family life for a little bit longer, but then he renounced. He got the opportunity to renounce. Then later on, he was engaged by Nityananda Prabhu and having a great celebration for the Vaishnavas. This is the chip rice and yogurt festival. Chip rice and yogurt festival, Panihati, which Nityananda Prabhu engaged Raghunath Das is riches in. Raghunath Das actually sponsored the feast. Nityananda Prabhu gave him the order, prepare a big festival and feed all the devotees with yogurt and chip rice. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. Finally able to use his wealth in the service of the Lord, he immediately sent home some of his servants to purchase the necessary ingredients. So there's much, much more that can be said about all these personalities. We're short on time. And Raghunath Das Goswami is one of the great Goswamis. Rupa Raghunatha Pade. When will that desire awaken within my heart to read the literatures of the 6 Goswamis? We should pray and beg to come to this point, but understanding that we can only come to this point through the mercy of the Vaishnavas. And our first and foremost duty is to study the books of Srila Prabhupada, to engage ourselves in this Sankirtan movement, and to help the previous acharyas and all these great personalities bring the fallen conditioned souls back to the lotus feet of Krishna. Thank you all for your kind attention. I don't know should we do questions or?
Is there
Anybody have any
anything-
questions
Is there anything on that you can share?
No questions.
No questions. So we'll end there, and we'll end by requesting, on this day of Vasant Panchami, we pray for the blessings of Srimati Vishnupriya, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Srila Raghunathan Thakur, and Raghunath Das Goswamis, to please empower us and help us in this great mission to spread the Sankirtan movement and to bring all the fallen conditioned souls back to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if they so desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Panchagapatri Yesha,